Hey y'all, I'm fixing to do some propagations. These are the plants that come out of the window boxes. If you watched the transition window box video from summer to fall / winter, uh, these these were they're actually pretty big. These are cane begonias and the double impatiens, and I'm planning to propagate off of both of these, and so I thought I'd bring y'all along for that. Okay, I'm going to start. You can see how pretty this is. And it's big and bushy. Now, if you had this planted in these were in the window boxes, but if you had these planted in like a regular flower pot, you might not would want to let them get this leggy. And partially they're this leggy because they were in window boxes, and once they started growing up, it's just they were packed in there with so many different plants. Of course, and anything's going to grow toward the light. So you could have, I could have cut these back and would have had they have been in pots. Something besides the window box. But I love these. And these are very simple to propagate and overwinter. You can pretty much take just about any cutting you want off of, an impatient. And the reason I'm overwintering these is because it's the double impatient, and sometimes they're harder for me to find in my area. They're also expensive. Like this plant in the spring this year was, I want to say it was like $6 or $7. Well, if you're needing multiple ones to go in different areas, and it's in an area that you've never grown, a certain type of plant before, I really don't want to experiment with it. If I pay, you know, $7, $10, $15 for something, I really want it to do good. And especially if I've had to buy multiple ones, of that same type of plant, I don't want to have to experiment with it and, have them not make it. And so being able to take a cutting, or, off of a plant, really does make you not worry so much about experimenting with one. And so, but all you're going to do is you're going to take cuttings, and you don't have to take one this long. You want to make sure that it's got at least 2 nodes that's going to be under the dirt, and then top leaves. Because once you get this cut, you're going to come in and you're going to take off all of these leaves until you get to the top. And once we get near the top, I will show y'all. Okay, we're at the top. Now, if there were blooms or anything up here, you would want to come in and whack that off. Of course, on this one, there's not. And so you're going to want to look for the leaves that you're going to want to use to, keep the cutting where it can still absorb the sun, but, still make your roots. And so I try to leave 2 that are kindly across from each other. It could be these 2 or it could be these 2. And then you want to take off the rest. 2 leaves is really all you're going to need. And so I think I'm going to leave those other 2 and take these 2 off. And then your cutting's going to look something like this. And like there's lots of nodes down through here. Everywhere there was a leaf, that's a node. And that's where your potential roots are going to come out of. Well, I don't need this many. And so I'm going to come up here from the top, and I'm just going to count down and leave. I'm probably going to leave 3 on this one. And I'm going to go right under the 3rd one and just cut that off. And then this is going to be your cutting. And so I'm just going to take, and in each one of these, I'm doing a 9-pack here. Maybe you can see that. And I'm just going to make me some little holes. I'm probably going to do 2 in each little square. And so you're just going to put it in the dirt and go pretty much bury it all the way to nearly the top of the leaves. And then you're just going to pack your dirt around it just like that. And so I'm going to show y'all another one. And this time I'm going to get one that does have a flower on it. So I can show y'all where to cut it off. And like I said, make sure you have several nodes and just go right under one that's lower down, several nodes down, and cut your stem just like that. And then go ahead and take off all the leaves until you get near the top. Stop before you get all the way to the top. And so just like that. And now we have this top set of leaves, and what we're going to do, because we have bloom here and we have another one trying to form, we don't need any of that. So you want to come in here and you want to take the whole top of that off just like that. And that's what you're left with. And I'm going to do, you want to try to do the smaller leaves, really, because you just don't need it taking up the extra energy. So I'm going to take all the bigger leaves off and leave the 2 smaller ones. And actually, this bigger one, you could come in and cut it, because you just don't need big leaves. And so you can see this one has tons of nodes. We don't need all of those nodes. And so I'm gonna come down to about right here. That leaves several nodes. And then now you wouldn't have had to have cut it back that far. You could have actually left it a little longer, but it's fine. These are so easy to propagate till it doesn't matter. And you just want to, again, put it in there and cover it till it gets nearly to the top. And so I'm going to finish potting these up, and then I'll show y'all what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, this one's potted up. You can see I've got the tray filled up now. Now what you're going to want to do is just water everything in good. And you're going to want to keep the dirt damp until these root. And I'm going to say it's probably going to take 2 to 3 weeks. And you'll know when they've got roots, because you'll see a lot of new growth. And sometimes with impatiens, or the double impatiens or any impatient, they will actually shoot out blooms sometimes before they're rooted. If you were to see blooms before 3 weeks, you would want to go ahead and take those off, because again, you don't want it producing the growth going into producing a flower. You won't want it to produce the roots. And you're going to want to, if you're in a zone where you're not going to have to bring these in right now, you could just set them, under a tree, because you don't want to put these in direct light. But if you're going to have to bring them inside, you can put them in a basement, or if you have light, because these are going to need some light. You could put them in a basement or in front of a window, although you just don't want to give these direct sunlight. That's the main thing while they're rooting. And then just keep them watered in for at least the first 2 to 3 weeks. And once you're sure they've rooted, then you can back off the water, because in the wintertime, if you keep these too wet, they will rot. They'll actually rot at at where the top is meeting the dirt. So just once they're rooted, back off of the water and let them dry out a little bit, maybe a quarter or so from the top of the soil before between waterings, and you'll see right before next spring they will start growing. And once they do that, you're going to want to use some liquid fertilizer. And really, that's all there are to it. I mean, they're, like I said, they're real simple to propagate. And if you were doing this in the springtime, you could just set it, directly under a tree in the shade for 2 or 3 weeks. And then once it's got roots, you would be ready to plant it in pots or the ground or, whatever you're wanting to do with it. It's really a big money saver. But if you're going to do multiple pots of different things, you're going to want to make sure you label these, so so what your propagations are. And then if you didn't want to do the cuttings, but you wanted to dig up the plant like this to bring it inside for the winter, because you can do that. Actually, Impatiens make decent house plants during the winter time. If you're just going to dig up the plant and bring it in, then you're going to want to cut it back. You're going to want to cut it way back. And you can see this one's already got, it's already putting up multiple new growth at the bottom. So what you would want to do, because you can see this plant looks beautiful after taking the propagations, but I can still bring this plant, if I want to, I can bring this plant in and overwinter it too. But what you're going to want to do is come in and go real close, maybe several inches from the bottom of your dirt, and cut this back. Now, like if you've got new growth coming this far up the stem, you can just go ahead and take that off and leave that. And you can see there's a baby one coming up, or you could go below that. It's just up to you, really. But if you're not, if you're going to bring it in for a house plant, you might not want it to look as ugly, by going all the way to the bottom. Like I said, that's just, how each person's own preference with that. And like this one, if it's a real big stem, you probably want to go as far down the stem as you can. And I know you probably will hate to cut this off, but you really need to. Just go ahead and take that off. And I'm going to go pretty far down this one too, because it's a big stem. And I try to cut above a leaf node. Like, for instance, each place that a leaf had come out, rather than just going in here and whacking it every which of a way, although you can do that too, it really doesn't matter. But you're going to have some, it's not going to look as good when it starts, until it starts putting out growth. So I just try to go above a leaf node. I'm going to go ahead and take this off because it was a double thing. And this one right here, because it's sticking up and just looking weird, I'm going to go ahead and take it off. But you would have something similar to this that you would be bringing inside for the winter. And if you were going to try to, if you wanted it to look good, you could go ahead and throw a little bit of liquid fertilizer in it. But I would only do that once or twice during the whole winter months, because honestly, your plants, even like this, are not really going to be actively growing. They will grow some, but they're not going to grow like they do in the springtime. And so you could just bring that whole pot in, set it near a window, and because this one would not have to be as sheltered as like these would from the direct light. If you bring one of these in, the whole plant that's already rooted, you're actually going to want to give this one more sunlight. So you could set this one directly in front of a, a window, and it would be fine. If you did start noticing a little bit of burn, depending on, whether it was a south facing window or whatever, then you would just want to pull it back some from the window. But that's it. That's all there is to it. Uh, so I hope this helps. If you were looking for a way to overwinter a double impatient, or any impatient for that matter, you have the option of, doing the whole plant or taking propagations. And so, until next time, bye.